Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody. Thanks for joining our podcast for Edified Podcast, where we discuss all the happening topics in the world, including technology, economics, education, human development, and everything in between. We have with us once again Shihabudheen who is an expert on AI, really passionate about using this technology for the betterment of humanity and how we can utilize that for our daily use. And instead of being afraid of this technology, let's embrace it and utilize it for our own purposes and benefits and for the benefits of the society. So, Assalamu alaikum, bhai. Thanks so much for joining.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thanks for inviting me for this podcast. And I would like to, because today we have the topic AI and Islam. And it is a fantastic topic because that is something that we need to always discuss. Because the technology is changing, the world is changing. And how can we keep up with the changing world? Maybe Islam, we can't change the fundamentals because the fundamentals of Islam are so strong to cope up with any of the changes happening. But us, the custodians of the Islam in the modern world, I think we are responsible to explain Islam to the new generation in a new way where technology is in the forefront. So hope we could have a fruitful discussion today.
Definitely. So what there's a lot of apprehension. There's a lot of apprehension, I should say, about using AI. And I wouldn't say like in the Islamic world, but like in the aspects of how we should use them for Islamic context. Everywhere from using more, like, we're in Ramadan and Eid, and we have all of these discussions of when is the mood, when is Eid, and when is Ramadan starting, and everywhere in the world is different dates and so on. From that to the content that we're generating here, and on in the web world, and the synthetic content that it generates. So what are your thoughts on that?
So as every technology, there are like both ethical side and unethical side of it. So when it comes to AI, artificial intelligence, this is actually getting discussed mostly in the European side.
Hmm.
US is not that concerned about the ethical side, on the initial part, because on the initial front, actually, they are busy implementing the system and they are busy building system and business out of that. But Europe, as you know, is already is always concerned about the ownership of the content, the kind of the ethical side of that, and they are always discussing about the responsible AI part. So this is called responsible artificial intelligence. So the thing is that since AI is learning from different systems. For example, if it is generating an image, actually it is learning image. It is learning from the images in Google Photos. It is actually learning from the images or the artistic work of different artists. So it is also learning from, so going on to the textual side or the research side, it is actually learning from a lot of research papers. So there are discussions like who is going to own this. So there is something called, if I am the one who create a content, it is actually learning from a lot of system. It is actually copying also from a lot of system. So that's how the new things are getting created. So on that part, on that ethical part, actually we also have concerns how to deal with that, because we are actually stealing something from another person without their permission. So that is one aspect that we need to take care of. Another
That's
one
a
is
very
on
nice way of putting it. Yes.
okay. So another one is on like how we are sharing the profits that we generate. So we generate some profit because from the works of another person. So we need to, so when we generate a revenue out of that, actually we need to share the sizable profit, or a profit with other person, right, who is already involved. So when we speak about the new technology, it's not only about somebody who is just building that. It's not only about ChatGPT being built by OpenAI. It's like it's the work of like human beings for the last 50 years or 100 years, right? So it is already learning from that. So we need to share the profit with them. Another one is about the usage. So we need to think about how ethically it is going to get used, because we can actually spam people. We can actually trick people into the system, and we can pretend to be somebody who is genuine, who is contacting from a genuine part or from a government part, and we can trick the person and we can loot their money too. Okay, so we can do a lot of stuffs using AI. So on the ethical front, though this is a good technology, we need to always be concerned about the responsible AI part of this. So we need to be responsible. We need to build some kind of maybe some kind of rulings on top of AI, usage of AI, and the usage of AI on the ethical side, and also on the responsible AI part. So I think Islam should be on the forefront of the discussion where this responsible AI is getting discussed. So we should be on the forefront. So we need to bring in our rulings onto the table, and we can actually discuss about what is happening on the part of artificial intelligence and technologies, and we need to actually build some kind of new rulings or new systems to actually deal with this. Otherwise, the new generation won't be aware of the Islamic rulings on this artificial intelligence part. So that's my thought on this.
That is a very interesting topic, Arvind, because I had that on my agenda to discuss with you today. But there's like so many things you discussed about. One of the things, which is again, because it is one of the concerns that I have is, and I guess everybody else has, is like a lot of non-Muslims can generate Islamic content. You talked about rulings. A lot of non-Muslims can create synthetic rulings that do not abide with the traditional Islamic teachings and the traditional process we've had for the over 1400 years of that has been established from Quran and Sunnah, right? So, and also about you also touched a little bit about the regulation of AI in Muslim countries. Now, to kind of expand upon that a little bit more, should Muslim countries develop their own AI models for such scenarios, just like China developed their own and US did their own? And again, the part of that is not only owning the content, but also with AI and with technology and all of this generated technology, there comes a big part of misinformation, synthetic content. You have deep fakes, you have all of these different things that are coming up. So that is essentially my question is about having these, as you talk about, like, who owns this content and who generates that problem. How do we regulate that? Because it's all everywhere.
Okay. So on that part, on the part of creating synthetic contents, actually, we need to think about this before the time of AI or technology or the computers. Actually, this happened from even after the time of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right? So people used to create a lot of synthetic ruling at that time too. So even if you check some kind of seeras, actually a lot of things have crept in from some other civilizations, and people who are deliberately doing this. So this used to happen in the time of internet and .com companies too. Because if you check, if you search Google, you could see a lot of Hebrew narrations of the seeras of Islam, right? So if you go to the seeras of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, you could see a lot of stories getting getting fabricated. So this used to happen before the time of AI and technology. But at the time of AI and technology, it has taken a pace. So that is one thing that we need to worry about, because the pace with which these kind of synthetic contents are getting generated is getting faster. So what we need to do is we'll have to start creating, we'll have to start adopting this on the other, it on our part, because it's our responsibility. Because if there is someone or 10 or 100 people creating this kind of synthetic contents, we are thousands and millions of people who are responsible to create the right content. So if the systems actually, so if we could populate the system with the right content, or if we could populate the system with something which is ethical, we can actually overtake the other group, right? So that is one thing that we need to take care of. And another one is UAE and Qatar, as per my understanding, and even Saudi Arabia are actually investing a lot lot in these AI companies, and they are also trying to build their own models. Because, for example, there was a model called Falcon, along with ChatGPT, OpenAI's GPT models. There was some model that was getting built called Falcon, but unfortunately, a lot of innovations don't happen in the Arabic world, right? Because they always copy this from the Western world. But when you take the case of China, actually they innovate a lot. Though they copy some part from the Western culture, they actually innovate, because that is out of their requirement. So what they do is like they do a lot of innovation and research, and I do believe that, because even in OpenAI, this Qatar Foundation has got a lot of investment, so they can actually control the kind of operations of OpenAI to some extent. And even Saudi Arabia is investing a lot in Microsoft Copilot and other the models. So I think the Islamic countries are trying to get involved in this kind of revolution. But unfortunately, as a community, we need to have more and more volunteers coming in. So we need to have more and more volunteers coming in, more and more people learning about these kind of systems, and more people creating contents, and not only contents, creating models. So we'll have to create our own models, like China did with DeepSeek and Manas
Right.
AI. So we have the opportunity. So let's start creating models. Let's start innovating. Because this is the right time. Because this is a time of change, right? Because after the 14th century, we were not able to contribute much into this kind of scientific discoveries. So now we have another opportunity coming in. So let's utilize the opportunity, and let's either be along with this technology revolution, or let's place well ahead of this kind of technology revolution. So that's my thought on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that as you talk about like developing your own models, right? Especially for like when we talk about like, there's always this um discussion of having these robo fatwas, right? Where people will have, they will have this content generated from anywhere in anywhere available, and they can start generating their own fatwas, right? That's another concern, right? So when you talk about generating the models, we have to have some principles, or like the history that we have of 1400 years. A lot of that content is not digitized, right? Most of the content that we have, historically speaking, is in Arabic. It's not in English. That's one thing, right? A lot of that is in manuscripts. That means it's not even in printed form. It's just like in the handwritten form that we have had. So there's a lot of heritage that we've had through so many years, and because it is a very big heritage. And when we're talking about fatwas, when you're talking about precedents, when you're talking about the different modalities and the different, uh, what should I call it? The processes of driving a fatwa, right? We should have some kind of these models, and how can we train the model? So that is like, I guess, one of the concerns is having this AI generated fatwas or AI generated models of Islamic rulings, right? And not, I mean, sometimes it's every ruling is significant, but sometimes it could be like, you're talking about halal and haram, and when you talk about in healthcare, that is altogether a different field, especially about with all the technology and advancement in healthcare, with say synthetic transplants, like synthetically generating uh, kidneys or livers from stem cells, right? That's another thing. Then you talk about like probable healthcare, like towards the end of healthcare. When is a person brain dead? Are they dead? Are they not dead? Are they still alive? Like what those kind of rulings, are very, very critical, and they impact uh, not only a person, but like families and the society in general. So how do we, when you talk about building our own model, I think one of the things that we have to um, do is we have to have education on both sides, some basic education on both sides. And what I mean by that, we do emphasize a lot on the Islamic ulama and the scholars to learn technology. But at the same time, I think it is also our responsibility, people who are in technology, well, not me, but like, people like yourself and, who are expert in their fields, to kind of like have basic fundamental understanding of Islamic epistemology and Islamic knowledges, right? I mean, the different branches of knowledge. And I think this is like the gap that we have to cover on both sides. On one side, the ulama and the young students, they're aware of it, right? The young ulama who are graduating, or the one who are in their mid-20s or 30s, they're very much hands-on to this technology, right? But certainly senior ulama who are like in their 60s and 70s, there's always this principle in law, right? Whenever there is a change in law, that's just like a principle in any law. Whenever there's even a change in constitution, for example, right? The first thing is everybody kind of like goes against it. And then you kind of like start making a case towards it. So or like in cybersecurity, if you take about in computer cybersecurity, whenever there's a new request, the first basic rule is the first time you always, they have to make a case for that request to be accepted, right? So what I'm trying to come to this whole thing is about real life application of AI in our day-to-day life of Muslims and Islam.
Okay.
So yeah, go ahead.
So coming on to this, actually one of the darker side of this technology is like we'll have like digital ulamas. Okay.
Right.
Even everybody. So this is so we call this as democratization of technology. And even the people will become an ulama, will declare their own fatwas. So that is another dark side of this technology. So one thing is that every change that used to happen in the world used to give us some time for the change. So we had some time for preparation, because we know that the change is coming, and we all also knew that what kind of change is going to happen in next 20, 25 years or 50 years. But with AI and other systems coming in place, this quantum computing and other technologies coming in place, the time of change actually is very less, and it creates another problem. We don't get time to prepare. So what we need to do is like we'll have to equip the existing ulama to learn this kind of technologies. That is one part. And another one part is like we'll have to also build a new generation who is in the forefront of technology, or who is in this forefront of AI and other systems, to learn the Islamic principles, and to be aware about Islamic epistemology or any other related scriptures or something like that. And it's very easy to. And another one more technology that is coming up is Neuralink, right? So somebody who needs to learn something, actually they can implant a chip and they can learn everything. So that is going to happen. So these kind of things are going to happen. And when the time to learn actually got reduced. So we can actually build both these kind of people, ulama who is well versed in technology, and also we can build a technologist, the community of technologists who are well versed about Islamic principles, not deep into that, but they are very good in that
Foundational
surface
knowledge.
Okay, fine. So that on that part. So what we can do is like we can actually start some initiatives. We should actually start some initiatives. Otherwise, what is going to happen? Because the quantum chip, which is getting developed by Google, actually it takes less than 5 minutes to create or to learn the entire knowledge, or to process the entire knowledge that was generated by the humanity for the entire human civilization. So those kind of things are coming up, and so we need to actually prepare. That is one part. So we need to understand one thing is that there is not that much time to prepare, and also the technology will change. Maybe today it's AI, tomorrow, as you told, it is going to affect. AI is not just something that stands alone with the computer programming or something like that. It will go along with healthcare. It will come in agriculture. It will come in defense. Everywhere it's going to come.
Yeah,
so what is going to happen is like new and people are actually 3D printing foods, right? So when they are 3D printing foods, so how can we ensure that is halal?
Is that halal or haram? That's like another point, right? Like
that is another point.
Right.
So about the synthetic
but again, I guess it depends on like what kind of DNA, what kind of animal DNA we are using for stem cells and whatnot. But that's another interesting topic to have,
Yes. So those kind of things are coming up. The only way possible is that we need to understand that we won't be able to isolate ourselves from this change, because even if we are not going to embrace the change, this kind of changes will happen in such a way that it will come towards us. Even if we are not somebody who is going to embrace the change going behind that, it will come to us and it will affect it in an adverse way. So that shouldn't happen. Even on the warfare, actually they can create systems wherein it can identify the race, right? It can do a complete killing
It's
of the.
automated warfare, right? I mean,
Yeah.
with face recognition, they can program somebody to do that, and there are reports that that they
Yeah, not
probably
only.
use that in Gaza as well. Like
Yeah, not
Israel.
only like face recognition. Actually, it is going to be genome mapping. So what
Mm,
they are going to do is like they are somebody who is well known about this technology can send something through the food or maybe through the medicines and other stuffs or
right.
vaccines. Those kind of things
Nanotechnology,
can
yes.
happen. So we need to understand, and we are not alone. So as Muslims, we are not alone because there is a huge crowd of people who are sympathizing with us because they also want this AI to be ethical. They want this AI to be responsible. So we are not the only people. The vast majority of the people who want the human civilization to exist with humanity, who want the human civilization to exist in that particular, in that purified way. They all want this AI to be ethical and responsible. So we are not alone. So let's join hands with those kind of people, and let's join hands with this kind of activists and volunteers who are already building systems for ethical AI and who are already building communities to create technologies to counter the technologies that are coming, the adverse technologies that are coming from corporates. So we should, I think we should join hands with these people. Let's join. Let's create communities and let's enable our own community for this kind of change, because
Definitely.
that's the only way possible. So we'll have to think about even the traditional way of Islamic learning. We'll have to change, I think, because from my point of view, actually, we changed a lot, right? Because like previously, if you check, we didn't had any madrasas, right? Previously, at the time of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, this kind of organized madrasas were not there. And when the changes came, we adopted this. And when it came to the YouTube, or the kind of online platforms, we tried to adopt them. So let's try to adopt these kind of changes, and let's understand that these kind of things are actually affecting each and everyone, every human being on earth. And let's start building some kind of systems wherein we can cope up with this. And another part is about about the Quran. Actually, people are really worried because when I discuss with some people, they tell that Quran may get what to say, replicated. So they tell that some kind of copy or a false copy of Quran may come, because with artificial intelligence can easily generate these kind of contents. So I say that it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who promised us that you can't change Quran. It will be there. So he is the one who is responsible for that. So let's don't worry about that. Whatever technology comes in, don't worry about that, because it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has promised us that
Right.
this
That's where the
will.
divinity comes in, right? The
Yeah,
promise
yeah,
of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and
yes,
the strength of Islam also comes in, right? So to
yes,
your point, like as we were discussing earlier, like to have that knowledge gap covered, both for the technologists and for the ulama, the traditional ulama and the scholars of Islam, because they are both two different domains and two different um, specialities, if you will, right? And to cover that gap where the ulama are aware of like all the new technologies, AI, and also the technologists and the doctors and so on, they are aware of the Islamic traditional knowledges and the principles of ethics. That's one of the things we are doing at Edify Academy as well. That's one of the reasons we built this academy, because we realize that is something that is not being handled or catered to in the market in a very fast way. All these things are changing so quickly. And as you talk about traditionally speaking, there was a time when everybody has had basic Islamic knowledge. We know, and you talk about learnability, or learnability through AI, and that's totally another topic. And we had touched a little bit about it in our last previous podcast about the ability to learn languages through AI, and we can talk about how we can learn Arabic through AI, and then Quran. They're like some AI applications that teach you how to recite Quran or how to do Hifz Quran. But at the same time, as you talked about the divinity of Islam, right? We have to have that human connection there as well. What I mean by that is there could be mistakes that we can, the AI may not detect, right? And at that time, we need a human expert, to validate everything, right? It's just not like, I mean, theoretically speaking, if you're really talking about robotics, right? Uh, the robots who do surgeries. Theoretically speaking, if you let the AI control it, they don't need a medical doctor behind them to operate, to conduct that surgery. They can just do it through the AI and all the information that they have, the training that we've had. But at the same time, there has to be like certainly because of the delicacy of the Islamic knowledges, right? And the nuances it has. I do believe that's like, we were just talking about like so many different applications, and learning is just one of them. We talked about last time about scenario-based learning and contextualizing education. And I think that is so much important that we can utilize that for teaching students of fiqh, the different contexts of law, like the different contexts of scenarios that we can use them and educate them. And, throughout history we've had, and, what have been initially, as you said, like there were reprehensions on how to use these technologies or the new things, and then with over time, things change. So again, coming back to that, I just want to like um, ask you about the learnability of AI and how we can use that for Islamic education,
Okay,
for Quran as
so
well. Yeah.
learning AI is so learning has become somewhat easier nowadays, right? So if you want to compare, if you want to compare with some books or some kind of, if you want to do a comparative study, it's very easy right now because every information is right in front of us. And another one is, if you have checked the deep research part of DeepSeek or Gemini or ChatGPT, so they have now started doing research. So if you use these kind of features, you can see that what are the sources they are looking into for learning this kind of things. So we can understand the kind of sources they are learning from. So this is another advantage that comes in our front. All right. So learning at the age of AI has become much more easier, and also learning from different parts of from different opinions or different viewpoints are also coming up. So it is very easy to learn, and being on the supervision part, like we also, like as you told, we'll have to have some kind of system to supervise this, and this also can be actually replicated with an AI system. So we can actually use an AI system to supervise this, and with the help of a human being, right? Because human intervention is not going to get lost. Actually, they are trying to automate something which can be done by a human, but a human intervention comes in wherein these tools are actually getting created and controlled by human beings. So these tools are not going to replace human beings. It's going to augment. It's going to give us more power. So learnability is getting much more easier in this era. And another crucial part is about the language. So as Muslims, we know that our Quran is in Arabic, and most of our scriptures are in Arabic. So what we need to do? As a language, we need to preserve. We need to actually preserve Arabic. That is another part.
Absolutely.
Because we know that since Quran is in Arabic, we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will preserve this language. But on the usage part, we'll have to think about, because the people who are building these systems are telling that the world is moving to a single language, or English. English is the basic language that they are putting forward to. But the systems can actually learn a lot of new languages. It can create a lot of new languages. So it is we who are going to use the system. We are going to ask the system in Arabic. So the system will start replying in like Arabic itself. So we'll have to build systems wherein people use these kind of systems much more having much more conversation in Arabic rather than we speaking in English with the system. If you start
Absolutely.
speaking in Arabic with the system is going to make Arabic much more stronger. That is another part. And regarding the learning of any technology, it's not only about computer technology. If you want to learn anything, anything about science or geographical aspect or astronomical aspects, we can learn. We can actually use these kind of systems for learning. For example, if you take the example of the Line project in Saudi Arabia, which is a vertical city which is coming up in Saudi Arabia, they don't do any of the testing using manual system. They make use of artificial intelligence systems to test how this city is going to be. When they are creating some architectural model, they are making use of AI to test this. They are doing the material testing using AI. So everywhere this AI is getting used. So this is also, the system is also learning. So the system is also learning with us. So this one, so we can easily learn this technology with the system. And another part is computer programming. Previously, it was very difficult to learn computer programming, but nowadays computer programming has become so simple. The programming has become so simple that if we are going to instruct an agent to do some programming, it is going to do the programming. It is going to fix all the bugs. It is going to create new systems, whatever systems we want. So everything in the previous SaaS model, everything is getting changed to model as a service. So we are actually changing the software models. Everywhere the change is going to happen. So we need to be in the forefront of these changes, because in a changing world, it is very easy to cope up with the changes, because everything is changing. Nobody is standing alone. Nobody is standing isolated. So we are getting the opportunity. So let's get into the bus. Let's get into the bus and let's start learning, because it's very easy to learn and change. And it's very important too. It's really important to learn such things. And believe me, learning has become much more easier, be it the Islamic learning, be it if you want to learn Quran. The system has become so simple, rather than previously we'll have to go to an ulama, or we'll have to go to some other countries to learn something from the core part. But right now it's coming to in front of us, right? So let's make use of the system. So learning in the Islamic perspective, or learning science, or engineering, or computer science, or anything, everything has become easier. So as the custodians of Islam, actually what we need to do is we'll have to start learning, because it's our responsibility to learn with the new world, because one of our responsibility is to learn the Islamic teachings. But on the same front, we have another responsibility of learning with the changing world, because that is one of our responsibility.
Absolutely.
We have to learn what is happening in the real world. We'll have to be a part of that. We'll have to be the contributor in such a scenario, and we'll have to enable our future generations also to learn along with us, because the initiatives that we were speaking about, because we, along with Islamic learning, we want the new technology also to be incorporated with that. So these kind of things will help us, because the new generation actually are really having great intellectual capacity to learn anything, to master anything, because that is another kind of ni'mah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given. So let's use those kind of ni'mah, and let's build our new generation to build such systems. Let's enable our new generation to innovate. Let's enable our new generation to research in this kind of fields. So I think that is going to be the key part. Let's enable our new generations, and let us also start, because our learning and change will be in a slow pace. But believe me, the new generation will learn in a faster pace, because they are the part of a new kind of generation. They are being a part of new kind of revolution, and they can easily cope up with the changes, and they also will learn in a better way.
Right. And I think, as we talked about earlier too, one of the things is about AI, as we talk about Islamic education, is AI will make mistakes, or should, it will, because it was getting content from anywhere else, right? And the misinterpretation or misrepresentation of Islamic knowledge is definitely one of the concerns. That's why we have to have a human element there. We have to have that's people don't realize it, that one of the reasons that alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he talked about earlier, is about the preservation of Quran, and how the Quran was cannot be, this is the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah will preserve it, right? And nobody else, and there's a challenge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you cannot even make one ayah like that, right? And what I'm trying to come to is like the methodology, the traditional methodology or the divine methodology, the prophetic methodology of teaching of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the chain of narrations that we have had. Like, well, I'll give you an example, right? When the print media came in, like 100, 200 years ago, right? That did not eliminate that heart-to-heart teachings. What I mean by that is that, just because we have the printed volumes of Quran and tafsir and ahadith, that does not make us a muhaddis or somebody who is expert in that, right? That knowledge has to be transferred from heart to heart. I'll give an example, right? And this is a very simple and common um, exercise in communication training, right? You take, say, 15 people or 20 people, right? And you give them one word, the first person, and by the time it goes to the last person, it's totally changed. But in Islam, it has not changed, right? The word, the Quran, um, and the ahadith has not changed. And one of the one of the reasons behind that, according to my understanding, is the methodology of it, is that human methodology behind it. Because what we say is the system of isnad and ijazah and ilm rijal that we have, that is to make sure that everybody that we are getting knowledge from is an authentic person, right? And then they validate the knowledge. And what I mean by validating the knowledge is, for example, if somebody is reciting Quran, just to give an example, right? We are reciting Quran and maybe we are making mistakes, right? Just take one sentence, for example. Let's say one ayah, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Now, over 1400 years, this ayah has remained same. It has not changed. And the reason it has not changed is because of the validation we do. It's the system of sanad and ijazah. That means is when a scholar, when a qari, when they teach their student, it's not a one-way teaching. They listen back from their students, right? And they ensure that the student is not making their mistake until like they have made their mistakes. And same thing with Hufaz, right? When they're reciting Quran, it's not a one-way communication. It is actually a two-way communication. And once the teacher deems that this particular person has understood it and known it the way it's supposed to be, only then they give him the sanad or the ijazah, so they can teach to other people as well. And I'll give you the same example, right? For example, the 20 people that we talk about in this earlier, the example that I gave in communication. Let's say you take the same 20 people, okay, and give them one word. Let's say we give them a word pen or banana or whatnot, right? But we give them a rule. We say, okay, you know what? The first person, you will tell the second person pen, and you will ask him to repeat it to you, right? At least 3 times. And when you feel like that he has not made mistake 3 times, and you have confirmed it, then only you allow him to go to the second person. And if you keep the same exercise throughout the 20th person, unless somebody does it purposely, that corruption of in the message will not happen. And that's part of like the one of the part is not only the sanad but also the mass transmission of it, of the knowledge of Islam, right? Whether that's ahadith and Quran, it's not one person who has it. There were so many Sahaba Ikram, and like from every generation, the people, the masses of Islam have come like grown, and that's why even during the time of colonization, like even when we talk about Turkey or other countries, in Africa or even in Indian subcontinent, whenever the colonials came, Russia and other places, one of the first things the challenge was the local education system. And that's why, like, because of like, even though the books were hidden or forbidden, people in the Islamic tradition, we were able to communicate that heart to heart, person to person. And that is, I think, the fundamental. It's not about just using the AI. I don't think there is an issue about using the AI. It's about using the AI without having human supervision, right? And that is, I think, the concern about education. And we talked about earlier about having digital fatwas and all that. So that is something that is, I think, at the core of Islamic learning, from what my experience has been.
Okay. So coming on to that ayah, it is like inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra wa inna lahu lahafidhun, right?
Right.
So it's not about Quran, it's about dhikr. So it's
Right, right.
about continue the entire process. It's not only about
Right,
the
right.
work of the Quran, it's about the entire process. So it is getting preserved. So so as we previously discussed, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will find a way, or he already has better plans than us. So he already knows like the systems are coming in, and he has better plans. So as you told, the methodology of learning will get preserved. That is one part. And another part is like on the part of making mistakes. Actually, human beings can make much more mistakes than the systems, because the systems actually, when we are creating some kind of systems in a company, for example. So if there is a software like ERP, or if there is a system called like SAP. So we already know that if it is done by human beings, it is much more error prone. So the systems can actually be built in such a way that it can be error free. It can be created in such a way that it can be much more efficient than human beings. So it depends on the training that we do. So we'll have to train and create systems which can preserve the systems in this way. So when, for example, if you ask the ChatGPT or the voice feature of ChatGPT or Copilot to act in a particular model, for example, if I need to learn Japanese, so I'll ask it to act as a Japanese trainer and ensure that each and every word I spelt is it is in the local dialect. So what happens is it will start acting that way. So we can create the system, we can enable the system in such a way that it also don't make mistakes. And it's all about training. So we'll have to train the system more and more with more and more tokens. So that the system will not make any mistakes. So these kind of things are possible. So since we are in the starting stage of generative AI, since we have just reached 3 years in this generative AI space, the systems are making mistakes nowadays. But in the future, maybe in another 2 or 3 years' time, it is going to learn from a lot of things, and the tokenization itself is becoming much more better. And coming from the large language model to the large context models, everything is changing, because each and every day, new technologies, new terminologies, new kind of methodologies, everything is coming up. So the systems will become much more error-free, I think. So right now, though it is error-prone, believe me, it won't even make mistakes as human beings. Because there was a question somebody was asking a system whether it can generate code which is error-free, which is bug-free. So the system was asking back, can you? So the reply was can you? Because nobody can create a bug-free system. So if you create a bug-free system, it's the end of the system, right? So science is also about changes. So everywhere the changes are happening, and believe me, in this process, actually human beings are and the technology is going to work hand on together. So what happens is the same will happen in our learning space too, Islamic learning space too, because the ulama and these technologies and the technology, or the AI agents, as we can call it right now, will work together in a situation wherein the AI agent will learn a lot, right? Because when we say about the gene kind, actually we say that one person is associated with maybe 5 or 6 gene, maybe we used to say, because I have heard that. So the gene can learn from us. So after the person is gone, some kind of it can actually imitate a person. So I have heard that. I am not pretty sure about it's the backing of that, but this is the case. So the same way, an agent can learn from a person. The agent can learn from the ulama. The agent can learn from different perspective, and this will help us to build a system wherein the system is error free. So don't think that the system will create errors. So it's our responsibility to create systems which are error free, because the new generation is going to learn from that. Even learning coming on to the learning on language part, this kind of systems can actually help us to learn like a native person. right? Because that was not possible, because if somebody from India is teaching English to some person, actually it is having the local dialect. If somebody from Pakistan is teaching, it will have the other local dialect. So it is not the native English. So what happens is that the systems can be tuned in such a way that it can actually mimic the kind of qualities of a person whom we want to learn from. So we can actually create systems. So that is possible, and it's our responsibility to create such system, because we have the technology with us. We know what can be built, because China is proving that. Right? China is actually setting a great example for us, because this is possible. So why can't we do that? So let's try to create teams and communities which can create systems. So let's don't be happy with using ChatGPT and generating emails and generating some kind of text. Let's create models. Let's create agents.
Absolutely.
Let's create systems which can help us to learn and progress better.
I think
So that
that's
is
a very good point of like, and this is something you had talked about last time too, that we must not just be the consumers, we should be the creators. And when you're talking about the creators, we have to create the agents, the models, the way we want the system to behave, right? And we talk about, and another thing about AI is, I want to talk about like how we can use AI for economics in the Muslim world, the growth. But at the same time, there's this discussion or a discourse on whether AI will outsmart being human, right? And they were all like humanity, right? And everybody will become just zombies, right? So like that is another point, that there is a concern when um, AI will that become quote unquote intellectually smarter, if you will. At the same time, we humans have biases. And I would say that AI systems also have biases, right? Because essentially what it is just taking information and is interpreting it one way or the other, right? And whenever we do that, it is, there has to be a bias. And in the current environment, in media and in social media and the political landscape and everywhere around the world, it is very much, the narrative is very Islamophobic. And how can we handle that, from an Islamic perspective of this, uh, from an aspect of mass communication? So I
okay.
think there was
So the artificial intelligence.
too many questions in one sentence.
Okay, okay, fine. So artificial intelligence has grown from a stage of artificial normal intelligence to
Okay.
artificial general intelligence. So right now,
Yeah.
the agents, they claim that agents are doing artificial general intelligence, like whatever humans could do, it is getting done. So even the job of computer science engineers, it is going to go away in another 1 year's time. So that is going to happen, and they are claiming that the creators of this AI and systems are claiming that they are going to achieve artificial super intelligence, so better than human beings. So that is one part that is getting discussed. And regarding the technology behind this, it is tokenization. So what happens is, like, whatever it gets, whatever learning it gets, it actually create tokens out of that. And
Well,
whenever
can you
some
explain what is tokenization?
Okay, okay. So tokenization is somewhere like, for example, if I am someone who really loves something, so I say that I love parrots. Okay, so if I give a sentence, if the system learns this, I love parrots, it will give one token to I, it will give one token to love, it will give another token to parrot. So it is a kind of values, because the systems can understand only values, right? So whenever somebody queries it, because the system has already learned and has already made it to different tokens. Okay, so that is it is maybe, for example, it is associating each and every word with a particular what to say, particular number, for example, tokens. So tokens are a particular number which is associated with a particular word or whatever it learns. So when somebody asks a query, it is going to create some kind of prioritization. It is going to create some kind of algorithms wherein it is going to recreate it. So it can make a lot of mistakes in that angle. So whatever queries we ask, because as it is behaving like Google Maps will not give you, will not tell that I don't know the way. Okay. in each and every situation, it will redirect you to any other solution, right? Don't say that I'm stuck. I won't allow you to proceed further. It won't say that. It will each and every situation, it will create different routes and will redirect us. The same way this system is also behaving like that. It does not say that I don't have an answer, because in some kind of situations it can actually block you from some kind of searches, because that is based on the rulings of the government and based on the laws of the land. They will block you. But majority of the cases, if you ask in a different way, it will give you an answer. So the basic behavior of the system is that it wants to somehow give you an answer. Okay, so that is one part, because it is going to create a lot of a lot of chaos or a lot of misinformation to the system. But coming on to the opportunity part, actually, we'll have to think about the opportunity. We'll have to be opportunist, right? So what we need to do? We'll have to think about the opportunities it can generate. So it is going to create an opportunity wherein we have got a new tool to learn in a different way. So whatever is the personalized model of the learning of the particular learner, it can actually help you to learn better. That is one part. Another one is like whatever systems you need to build. So it is possible with AI. Previously, it was not possible with human beings, because if you want to build a system, you'll have to find the people who are experts in that field. Right now, we have systems which are really intelligent in that particular field. So, for example, there is a model which is really intelligent. So we can use that model and we can create our own algorithms. We can create our own teachings to that. We can actually train that model. So in that way, it is possible to create bigger systems. So we are getting a lot of opportunity. So we are getting opportunities to create better systems, maybe in par with human beings, or if it is getting super intelligent. Also, one more thing, it is under the control of human beings. It is not going to go out of control, I think, because that is not going to happen. Even if that happen, we will be able to control that, because we know the systems, we know how it is getting built, and there are situations wherein it is coming up with new languages and new way of communication and all. So that is not a threat. So let's see everything as an opportunity. Let's start creating everything. Let's start using this AI for creating or to create new systems. So whatever we want, let's try to use this kind of technology and build in an ethical way. So that will be our responsibility. Hope I answered all your questions, or is there something missing?
I forgot what I asked, to be very honest. But I know one of the things we want to talk about is the human bias, right? And the bias of the AI. And I think how we can manage that, and Islamophobia. I think those were like some of the aspects that I think we did not discuss. And also how we can use AI for economic growth, or developing economic growth for the future, right? For the in the Muslim world, so to speak.
Okay. So regarding Islamophobia, actually, it has got it has got a lot of dependency on the media. Actually, the one thing that we lost was like we were not able to capitalize on this fourth estate, because the media. The media, actually, even if it was print media or the television media, we missed that boat. Even from the time of radio, we missed that. So what we need to do is so people always believe that somebody which is told by media, people always blindly believe that. Even the people of the Western world and people from our part of the world actually believe in this kind of media, and they understood it. So even they understood it in a better way than us. So that is one part. So we need to, so this started even from the traditional media of the radio communication. And the same got propagated to the social media. And what happened was the creators of the system actually happened to be the people who were Islamophobist, right? So even the atheist, not only the religious people, it was the atheist group actually got capitalization in this kind of systems, right? So what happened, when it came to this kind of social media, Islamophobia grew larger, and it was our responsibility to create another system. But unfortunately, we missed that boat too, right? So it was the missing in our part. We didn't do our part. So whenever somebody is coming up with a system, we'll have to utilize that system itself, because the system had the same power. It was like a double-ended sword, right? So we could have utilized that. We missed that bus too. And now it is the time of AI. So why can't we? Why should? Because as I already told, we have an opportunity to be in the forefront of this system, because China already proved it. Okay, because I'm not because
Inna
if
Allah la 𝐤𝐞𝐿 hatta 𝐤𝐞𝐿 anfusihim. Like Allah doesn't change the condition of a people until they
yes,
change themselves.
exactly,
Absolutely.
because China has given a great example, because China
Absolutely.
is isolated and they didn't even supply chips to China. They asked Nvidia not to supply your chips to China, but China was able to build systems which surpassed the US systems, right? And that was one part. So it is a great example. So in order to prevent Islamophobia, or in order to educate people about Islam, what we need to do is we'll have to use the systems, because these kind of systems are getting used by people, because the new generation is going to use that. People are heavily relying on this kind of systems. People are blindly believing this kind of systems. So we can't prevent that, because that is a human nature. The only thing is that we'll have to bring in contents. We'll have to bring in scenarios which is realistic, which actually familiarize people with Islam, which actually familiarize people with the Islamic learning. So that is one part. That is the only way we can prevent Islamophobia. That is one part. And another one is about the economic growth. The world economies are moving to a different scenario. Right now, we are speaking only about trillion-dollar companies, right? Trillion-dollar economies. We stopped speaking about billion-dollar economies and so. So we'll have to think about a scenario where one single person is going to build a billion or trillion-dollar company. That is the kind of systems this kind of artificial intelligence technologies are bringing in. A single person can build a billion-dollar company in less than 1 month's time. Okay, so that is the kind of opportunity that is there. So we'll have to equip our new generation to be in forefront of that, because that is the only possible way. We can't expect them to learn all through these 25 years and come up with take their own time and learn. We'll have to reduce the time for this kind of learning. That's what we do at Hash Future School. We propose 3 to 5 year schooling. So
Absolutely.
the only possible way is that let them learn everything which is new. Okay, so along with the Islamic learning, let them learn the new technologies. Let them. That is what China is doing. China is actually coming up with some kind of curriculum wherein they want AI to be in the forefront. They want their primary school students to learn AI. That's the only way. They know that that's the only way to counter the Western culture, or the Chinese getting doomed in technology. So they want their people to be creators. They want to be in the forefront of this technology, because AI is going to be in the forefront of the technology in the coming years. We know that. And something quantum computing coming in place, everything will change, and everything will change in a faster pace. So economy is going to boom. So we'll have to also be in the forefront of that, because the traditional outsourcing model is going to get fed up. It's going to go down. Even India, Pakistan, and Asian countries are going to suffer, because these countries, the Western countries, are not going to outsource, because they have agents. They have got agents to do the work. So the traditional software engineering works that I used to do and my friends used to do, that is not going to happen, because we used to do bug fixes. We don't used to create anything. We were not called software engineers. We were called coders, right? So the coders are not going to exist. So the coders are going to get replaced by agents. So we'll have to think in an innovative way, wherein we should start thinking about creating new technologies. We'll have to think about taking the leverage out of this. We'll have to be in the forefront. Even we'll have to change even our educational system too. We'll have to think about changing our education system too. We'll have to utilize all the opportunities that are there on our way, and be in the forefront of the economic boom too, because it is not only the opportunity with somebody in the US. It is not only the opportunity with somebody in the Europe or China. It's an opportunity for us too, because we have the supercomputing power. We have the high-speed internet. We have access to each and every system that are available. So let's make use of these systems, because OpenAI made use of the research papers of Google, because Google has been doing all this research for the last 20-25 years. And these research papers were taken by OpenAI engineers because it was open. It was open to everyone. Those research papers were open to everyone. So Google, these OpenAI engineers made use of this, and they created systems better than Google. So that is another opportunity for us. So let's make use of all these kind of systems. Let's make use of all these kind of researches, and let's start researching in such a way that we can create better systems, and the world is behind us.
So I think very interesting topics, and we're almost at time. But and we have talked about it, and we both kind of agree on this of having AI for Islamic education, right? That is a very important topic, and it's probably like a discussion to have on its own. Islam, AI and Islamic education, and also a very interesting topic is AI and governance, and then what AI and Islamic governance looks like, and how can we use AI for those governance applications. And then we can talk about AI and economics and robotics, and there was an industrialization phase, and now it is automation phase. There was this information phase, and now this AI economy that we have. But again, the point being is that whenever we have this technology, we should embrace it and use it ethically. If we do not use it, then people who have bad intentions, they will always use it, and it will come back to hurt us. You just mentioned earlier that as an example for media and Islamophobia, we were not able to counter that effectively, and we were not able to generate even social media platforms for Muslims that were successful, and all these different contents. So yeah, I think those are something probably we should have like a podcast on each one of these: AI and Islamic education and AI
Yes, yes.
and Islamic governance, and we should just focus on that in one of those things. One last thing, and that is very critical, and is again, I think we touched about it a little bit, and having AI distorting Islamic knowledge or principles and the teachings of Islam. And then when we again talk about synthetic content, how that will impact. This will be like our last question. I think we are almost at time, but I want to just touch it one more thing, because I think this is the most critical question, or the critical hesitation people will have, is like, what if AI will become like Islamophobic, in other words, and will start teaching wrong things?
Okay. So as I already quoted one ayah, the same
Right?
thing. Okay. So don't worry about that. That's one part. The people will try to do that. And coming on to the example of China, China is having its own Google. China is
Right.
having its own YouTube. China is having its own Amazon, everything. Because it's a classic example. Because if China can do this, why can't the Islamic world do this? So that is another thing that we'll have to do this. So don't worry about somebody trying to distort or kind of manipulate the Islamic learning, because even if somebody is trying to do that, it's our responsibility to do the opposite from our end, right? So let's not think about doing
Be more
opposite.
proactive.
Yes, being more proactive. That's what. So we'll have to think about, rather than depending on these kind of systems. What to say, compete with BBC and other news channels, right? So those kind of initiatives should happen each and every time from the Islamic world. And I believe that
Absolutely.
Qatar, UAE, and Saudi Arabia are taking lead for this. And we'll have to, the others will have to be a part of this. So we'll have to keep away all the kind of differences that we have, because we are the people who believe in one Allah. We are the people who believe in one Quran. We are the one who follow the only
Prophet
Prophet
sallallahu
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And we have a lot of sects, and we are fighting over simple matters. So let's stop fighting over simple matters. Let's think about us building something which can preserve the learnings, or preserve the teachings of the Islam. So that is simply possible with this kind of technologies or other technologies which we can develop. So that's the only way to prevent this kind of things happening, and that's the only way to prevent Islamophobia from spreading. The only way, because we'll have to, if somebody is creating a video, for example, some kind of reel, we'll have to have 100 reels to counter that, right? Because if somebody is able to create a single reel, we'll have to have 100 reels to counter that. So we'll have to think in that way, though. So from the media part, from the content creation part, from the social media part, from the research part, even this kind of deep researches, we should have our own scriptures in place, right? Because when we are giving some kind of topic to research for Google's DeepMind or Google's Gemini model, it should actually search from those kind of things. That is possible. The only point is that we'll have to place our research topics or our research books in that particular place where Google is going to search from. Okay, so traditionally it was SEO, search engine optimization. Now it is going to be language model optimization. Okay, large language model optimization. So you'll have to know the changes happening in this kind of spaces, because everyone is going to chat with a chatbot. Everyone is going to use an AI agent. Everyone is going to depend on this kind of deep research rather than going to do all the research from like books and people. People are going to reduce their research time, because Harvard has already started. Stanford has already started, because they are collaborating with OpenAI. There is some initiative called the ChatGPT for education. So they are actually collaborating with this kind of companies. So let us also collaborate, because we'll also collaborate with them, and we will have our own research models. So we'll like collaborate with the models which are coming up in Saudi Arabia or UAE, because we can't actually depend on single systems, because we can't actually wait for building our own systems. We'll have to collaborate with the people who are who are in the forefront, who are thinking about building ethical AI, who are thinking about building responsible AI. So let's don't worry about Islamic scriptures getting like distorted or manipulated, but always worry about the new generation. They are going to search only in this kind of chatbots. They are going to ask ChatGPT. They are going to ask Gemini. Okay, so we should actually create contents for them, because it's for our new generation. Though we are ready to go back to the older scriptures, or we are ready to go back to the ulama for answers, the new generation is not going to do that. Either we'll have to educate them in that particular way. We'll have to give both the Islamic knowledge and the new technology knowledge combined, as we have discussed in the Neo-Gen Scholars initiative. So those kind of initiatives should happen. And we'll have to also ensure that the technology is built in such a way that even if our new generation asks to a chatbot, it is going to give them an unbiased answer. It is going to direct them in a right way. And it is going to guide them in a better way, and make them innovators, and make them researchers, which who are going to be ethical, who are going to be responsible. So those kind of things we can do, and we should do that. You are not audible, Raza bhai. You are not audible.
Oh, thank you. No, I just wanted to say I muted myself and didn't realize it. Well, thank you so much for your time. As always, it's been like a very enlightening and very interesting discussion to be have and to continue have that discussion. Thank you so much for your time for today. But inshallah, we'll continue to have these discussions. We'll try to make them public as well. One of the things we try to do in these podcasts is make them live, so live audience can come in and they can ask their questions. They can contribute to this conversation. They can contribute to these challenges that we are facing, or these opportunities that we are facing in this current one, and for the next 50 to 100 years. So thank you so much again, Shahab bhai, for coming, joining.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Okay. Hello, you left?